Animigos, and welcome to Keyframers. I'm Stephen Shaw.
And I'm David Khourshid.
Together we are coding compadres, animation amigos, Boolean buddies, and keyframe companions.
Yeah, we're going to be creating an animation from scratch live using HTML, CSS, and a little bit of JavaScript. As always, we're happy to answer any of your questions that you may have, so please reach out in the chat or the comments.
That is right. Yes. So we like to do some animation, and that's what we're here for today. So let's I guess get into it. Today's animation is Beginnings Collection Slider by Tom Anderson. And it's just a fun little animation. I love all the little details to it. Kind of like an image gallery selection kind of deal, something like that. But yeah, very, very nice subtleties to it.
There's so many things going on. Excited to dig into this.
Yeah. Yeah. Main thing I wanted to focus on is this kind of image transition that's happening. You kind of got these image cards of sorts, and then like this expansion effect where one of them goes full screen. I think that's mainly where we'll focus our time. But yeah, we've got just a little bit amount of setup. Nothing too wild, but basically each row of images here represents a slide because we've got three images for a slide, and some nice fall photography seemed fitting for the color scheme.
I don't recognize any of these leaf colors at all.
Yeah,
I know green and that's it.
Green and dead.
Green and dead,
in Florida.
Yeah. When people say that the leaves fall in the fall, I think of hurricane season where the entire tree falls with the leaf. But
yes,
yeah.
Make sure you're on collab mode. I think I sent the wrong link earlier, David. Just so that we're on the same one. But yeah, I did a little bit of setup here. Just main header, main title. That's just kind of that upper area of the animation. We won't bother too much with that. And then the slider, and this is kind of our main container for everything. We've got slider nav. That's just these buttons down here that we'll use for navigating the slides, and slider slides. This is where most of the magic will happen. So we've got
so much sliding.
We've got each slide has a title and slide images, and there's 3 images per slide at the moment. And yeah, that's the basic setup. So first of all, I think we should just get the slider aspect of it set up in JavaScript so that we can then just focus on the animation.
Sure. So at our trusty console.clear,
yes, that's always
to clear the console.
Always a good approach.
Let's see if you gave these buttons an ID or something we can work with.
They've got slider nav button and then previous.
Yeah, no, let's give them ID. Yeah, preview button. And so the reason that I like targeting by ID rather than by class is because with class, of course, you could have multiple that fit that class, and so you could get some unexpected results, and if the classes change, blah blah blah. But IDs, you typically don't want to use IDs in styling, and that way you could just name it whatever you want and have reassurance that those IDs are going to stay the same throughout the lifetime of the project. But that's just me.
Yeah.
And that way we could just do window.prev button. That technically works, but let's pretend we didn't see that. Documents.query selector. So we can have prev button. And we could do the same over here. Next button. There we go. So we could add event listeners. Now, how do we want to do this? So I'm guessing that, let's see, we have what? Three groups of images, right?
Yes. So there's 3 slides, and
okay. And so we're toggling, or not toggling, we're cycling between each one of those. So it's going to go 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, or obviously the other way around. And so we could say, let's current, what do we call it? Current
slide
group or fine, current slide.
Yeah, so let slides equal document.query selector all slider.slide.
All right, so when we click the pre button, we're going to say current slide equals current slide -1 modulo 3. I'm just hard coding 3, but that should be the length of it.
Yeah.
Let me see if that works. Modulo 3. Oh, wait. So if it's all right, so it shouldn't be modulo 3. It should be, because if we get into the negatives, we want to cycle back to 3. So current slide -1. I'm sure that there's a better way of representing that, but this is going to let us go 0, 2, 1, 0, 2, 1, 0, etc.
Yeah.
And so that should work for the pre button. And then we're going to do the same for the next button, in which if it is, greater than or equal to slides.length -1, then it should be it should be 0, because we're going to cycle back 0. Otherwise, we are going to add 1. So over here, just do, we have set current slide index. I'm going to go ahead and add a console.log to that index, just so that way we know that our logic is working, and we could open up the console and see that.
Parentheses here. There we go.
Unexpected token. Is that me?
Token.
I have, why did I add an extra equal there? I don't know. Greater than or really, really equal to. That's what that means.
Set current slide.
Yeah, then we have to parenthesize. And I guess we could do the same thing over here. Oops. Set current slide. Again, if you have a better way of doing this, or a favored way of doing your, cycling, just going from 0 to the end and then cycling back, or the other way around, then let us know in the comments. So let's try these buttons out. Okay, so
and I'll add a quick style. So if let's say slide data current, we'll say border solid 10 pix red. Right, and we'll do
2 0 1 2 0 1 2 0.
Current slide.
Okay, cool. I think our logic works.
Current slide. Yes. All right. So we have a basic slider. Yep. All right. Seems to be looping around correctly. That's great.
And it's working. Yeah. Awesome.
All right.
Something else we have to think of too. The thing that caught my attention when I first saw this animation was how majestic it goes from being a big image to a smaller image. And those are two different states.
Yeah.
We have, I don't know what you want to call it, full view and slider view.
Yeah. So this is one thing we covered in another episode, or at least the React, man, I forget the name of it. The React slider that we did. I know, we're just maxing out. The React slider that we did, and we like calculated offsets and did things that way. So I think what we want to do is instead of maybe like data current, doing setting like the offset of the slide, And so offset 0 is it's centered. -1, it's off to the left. +1, it's off to the right. And then like when you click a slide, it becomes active. And so like setting a data active state or something like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. So instead of, that, we can say, we can leave this logic and we can do slide dataset.offset equals.
I'm going to add a slide image class to each slide image. I also did my civic duty and added an alt.
Thank you.
For each one of those too.
All right, so we've got slide dataset offset equals, so let's say offset equals 0.
And also I'm adding a dash main class to the middle images. That way we know that when we're in the full state, those are the images that should be full. So, all right, so let's go slider. Nope.
Say that last part again.
I added a dash. So each one of these images has a slider image class now. It didn't have a class before, which is fine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and we're probably going to need to wrap them in divs. Is that what you did? Or at least the main one?
Not necessarily. Hold off on that for just a minute. I'm going to experiment with something. That's what we do on the show. We experiment and hope for the best.
Yes. Though often getting the worst.
Yep. But that's what makes it fun. All right, so we don't have styles for .slider, do we?
No, there's not.
Okay, well, guess we could add it. So .slider, not even a background?
Nope.
Do we have to, there we go. Do we have to use this this unfortunately colored background, or could we?
You don't like brown? What's wrong with brown?
A few things.
Well, one thing we should probably do here is go ahead and set up a couple of different grid layer tricks. So for slide images, we want all the images to be stacked, and then we'll fan them out. And for all the slides, we also want them all stacked, and then just the current one is going to be what's visible. The others will be offset. So let's say for our slide images, we've got display grid, and then for each slide image, it's going to be grid area 1, 1. There we go. Now they're overlapping each other. That's great. And we also want to apply this to our, let's see, slider slides setup. So we'll do slider slides, display grid, and slide inside is going to be grid area 1, 1. And then
don't mind me.
Slide opacity 0, slide current opacity 1, just for now, and that'll show us the change in that, and that's great. And yeah, okay. So what is it you're doing?
Nothing.
Oh dear.
So there we go. See, nothing happened.
Nothing at all.
Nope.
Okay. All right, and we'll probably want justify content, center, line items, center on both of these. Let's see, slider slides, height, percent.
Thinking about our states, we have slides and full. That's what I'm going to call it. Why not?
State full. State slides. All right. So got data current there. Do don't know that my offset setup is right yet, but let's go ahead and do that. We'll do transform, translate x, var, offset times 60.
Where did you add those offsets? Or is it just in JavaScript you're adding those?
Yeah. I forget, can we do this? Attribute data offset?
Don't think we could do that, no.
Yeah.
Fortunately, no.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, so that would have to go directly in the style tag or the style attribute.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be one way of doing that.
Let's see. Yeah, it's not gonna do that, so we'll do slide dot style set property offset. And I don't think my math is quite right here, but hey, we've got at least a little something happening sometimes. Go.
Oh my gosh, I have a really fun new technique to highlight in this.
Oh.
But yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it. You know, one thing at a time.
Hey, there we go. I got a basic slider in place.
How wide are these images?
They are not actually sized to anything yet. They should.
Oh, okay, so they're just whatever size they are.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think through this fancy clip animation.
Yeah, so real quick, and just to explain what's happening with the actual slides, we've got our set current slide that's being called. It updates the index for the current slide, and so we're just looping through each of the slides, setting an offset both as a data attribute and a CSS variable. Probably won't need those just yet, but or the data set, but the CSS variable we're able to use like right here in the slides. We've got offset, goes around that way. It always gets funky when you're doing like a infinite loop kind of idea. So that's, you would adjust that math here. It's just gets into modulos and boring math kind of stuff. So I'm going to leave that out for now.
I mean, really exciting math.
No such thing. Okay. So what you got, David?
Nothing.
Nothing. Again. All right. Slide. Awesome. All right. So what we can do with our slider image. Okay. Got that. Okay, you've got slider image and slider image main. Can do.
Will that work? Let's find out. So if I change this full. Whoa. Well, what's a good way for us to toggle between full and slides? I'm guessing by just clicking the main image.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So slides dot for each slide. I mean, I'm just thinking you click anywhere on the slide.
Yeah.
Say slide.
That is some funky formatting.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Click.
That's why if you don't have prettier built in, you could just have someone else do the prettifying for you. Look, I am prettier.
That's what collab mode is for. Slide dot data set.
Imagine prettier were that slow. By the way, if you don't know what prettier is, it's a code formatter that automatically formats your code. That was a redundant statement. Yeah, so when you click it toggles. Yeah, there you go. So full. This is our lazy person's state machine. Very simple state machine because.
Oh, it's on the slider itself, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do that on slider.
Alrighty. So
no, we do need it. We do need it on the slide.
Yeah. So we're gonna change the slider.
Yeah. Slider data set.
Do we have slider? No, we don't.
Probably not yet. Yeah, this is the simplest possible state machine. Okay, so
it's gonna be L slider. Just go back to our normal.
Yeah, sure.
Naming conventions.
Low slides or L slides?
Yeah. L's slide, whatever. Low slides, where we're going to make the Spanish. So that should be los slides. Okay, well that worked. I clicked and something moved. So.
Yes.
All right. But when you click, I don't think it's going to from between full and slides. At least I don't see that happening.
Yeah, let me look in the DOM here. Data set equals data state equals slides, L slider, load slides, add listener. So
I set a background blue on the full just to make sure that that's actually happening when we click. All right, so let's make sure our logic is correct. So low slides for each, which is all of our .slider.slide.
Yeah.
Okay. Why not just .slide? There we go.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, it does not. So what's happening?
Slide then solicitor L slider dot data set. Beat me to it. Okay, so we have our console log working.
Right.
But
so L slider dataset.state equals.
Is it full? Oh, it's not changing it.
Right. So it should be the opposite. Yeah. That's
what would have solved that? A state machine.
Nah. Hey.
Okay, so you see how it just gets gargantuan?
Yes.
That's my doing.
I figured. Okay. Full state. In width. Yeah.
I'm gonna pencil and paper or something.
I don't know
Don't mind me.
how well that transition's gonna work there.
We'll find out.
We will find out. Okay, let's see. Got that happening. We got that happening. Let's get our. Yes. All right. So the main is the middle one, right? Okay. So let's do Let's do the fan here. So, transform, rotate, negative 25 degrees. Dot main transform. One, and then
Man, each one of these episodes always feels like solving a puzzle. It's pretty fun.
yes. Index 2. Here we go. Okay.
All right, so we don't know how big these images are.
Right now, they're not sized by the viewport or anything like that. They're just 400 pixels by 500 pixels, 4 by 5.
Okay, we could use that. That's very useful information. Because back to the drawing board.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay. So if they're 500 tall, right? And 400 wide, then
Okay, so I'm setting up some CSS variables there so that we've got those used. Right. Let's go back to the original so I can see how that's going. Yeah, so I think they actually need to be translated a little bit. Let's say slide image.
X, Y. Your rotations are looking good.
Yeah, you know, it's getting there. Okay, got link values for that. That's fine.
In the meantime, I'm working on the full screen, shrinking to low screen aspect. I have an idea, but yeah, gotta math this out.
That's never a good sign.
Nope. Actually, I wonder. Let's see. Reading some documentation on CSS tricks. Gone.
Okay, slide. Image. Current. Okay. Right, we can do... So one of the... Let's see, data set, data state full. Okay, so one of the things we want to do is data state equals full to set those to null.
Okay, so let's be 0. Then
Always makes me nervous when David starts
Pencil and papering it.
Yes.
That's fair. It's totally fair.
Go. Okay. So we've got, I've kind of got the, you know, the like way that they fan in and out working. It's just they're covered up by that. Let's do that. Let's do that. And say like that. Good. And then what we can do is add, let's see it. It's the best way to handle it. Because right now I'm doing this on the actual slide itself, but I think we can do that on the actual images. Let's see. Right, because we want the slides to stay overlapping for those titles. So that what I'll do is I'll move this into here.
Were you moving into where?
This into here. Like that.
Okay.
Oops. Sorry. Adjusting my sizing here. Move that. Move that. Okay, but I need to do it before there. What? I always use and a lot. Derek in the chat says you guys use the ampersand in the CSS. What's the difference between parent, child, and parent and child? Okay, so the ampersand in SAS and less and a lot of other preprocessors equals this. So whatever your current selector is. So if you had like image, slide image, the ampersand is equal to doing that. So when you're nesting your styles and you want to kind of reuse that selector, like for instance here, we're targeting the parent, and then we want to use that ampersand to target this element again. Right now, I'm doubling up on that just for a little bit of extra specificity, but that's not necessary in most cases. So when we're doing the ampersand main here, we're targeting a slide image that also has the class main. So that should hopefully help explain that a little bit. It's not a parent-child thing. It's targeting that current selector and helping you build more advanced selectors from there. Hey, why do we have a fixed image?
Fixed image?
Yeah, it looks like the
because
is that you're doing?
Wait, all right, so where are you applying the transform? Are you applying you're applying it directly to the image.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine, because we could do this transform there. This is actually something that we did last week. So we're applying those techniques. And then for my fancy transform, we could add that transform too. So we're basically saving the transform to a variable, so that way it doesn't stay in the same place, but it's still staying in the same place.
Yeah. Slide data current and var transform scale state. Oh, because you've got it right here, overridden as transform none.
Oh,
that should be fine.
Well,
hey, there we go.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so things are zooming in and doing all the things, and that's great.
Oh, nice. Hey.
Cool. Yeah, and this is using a special technique, which I'm really excited to talk about because it is literally cutting edge, sort of. It's been discovered and rediscovered many times, but we'll get to it when we get to it.
Yes, hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's already getting us pretty much there. That the idea is in place. So we need some refinements, I think. Let's just say Okay, you've got a clip path happening, all that kind of stuff. All right, so then we can do next. All right, so what we want to do is add a little bit of a, so you've got transition there. We want to add a little bit of a delay. Transition, delay, seconds, delay, 0.1 second, 2, something like that. There we go. But we should probably variabilize that, make it delay.
Variabilize. I guess a recently invented word.
Yes. Delay.
Well, that's not doing what I want to do.
Delay. Second. And here we'll do this as 1, this as 2, and we can override that a little bit here. Say delay 0 when we're at. Something like that helps a little. Let's see. Next.
Okay, where's my scale? So just make that 2 for now. Huh. My clip path is not transitioning. Did I do something wrong?
Probably.
Yeah, intend to. Clip path, polygon. Okay, yeah, I could definitely just remove that.
I mean, the slide image has, let's see, it has transition all on it, so that should work. Let's see, date. Okay, slide image to slide that occurred. Okay, let's do this.
Oh, yes, it works now. Yeah, I'm very excited that my silly idea worked, and we didn't need any extra layers. We didn't need to put the images in any extra layers for this one.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Performance is terrible, but don't worry about it.
Yeah. Set that, and I'll explain that a little bit here. Let's see. Set 0 and set to 1 here. That gives us a little bit of a stagger effect. Let's see. Let me look again at how that transition happens. Okay. Yeah, the hardest part of all this is just organizing and trying to keep track of it all when we're doing it so quickly and both working on different pieces. That's the tough bit, because I want to animate the rotation as well on the slide change. So it's hard to say best approach to do that. for instance, if I update the rotation here and do, rotate there, and that's possible. It's,
oh, 1 second ease. Okay, do that. I feel like the more I work on this, the clip, the clip path thing makes more sense if. What am I trying to say? The clip path's a little weird. That's what I'm saying. And maybe there is a better way of doing it, but not worth worrying about right now. Second ease. Yeah, we have 25%. 75%.
Oh, that needs to be taken off. That was the problem. There we go. Yeah, that's nice.
Oh yeah, so that transition from when it goes from the smaller photo to the bigger photo, it's like a nice 2 second long transition.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's technically changing aspect ratios and all that. That's why I was thinking it needs to be container, and ideally we'd do flip and all that.
Yeah.
But I think for this we'll try to keep it simpler. All right, and you're gonna explain what's happening with that in a little while. That's fine. Let me see if I can get the slide title displaying like we want. Go up here and copy these.
Let's do it. 1 second. Slide state is 3 seconds. That worked. But yeah, I will definitely talk about that. I've been waiting to just have an opportunity to use this technique, and it's actually pretty nice. We are using a lot of CSS variables here.
Yeah, it's a few. Yeah, but it's I think it's the right approach. It's just it is a lot. So let's see, slider slot. Let's add slide. This. Let's see, X. T.
Well, hey, the clip path animation actually looks a lot nicer now.
Yeah.
And I'll definitely explain that. Because it's not mathematically correct right now, because I don't want to do all the math for that. But it works.
Yes. Let's do it.
For each of these languages.
Yeah, one thing I was watching Learn with Jason the other day, where Lynn and Tonic was on there. Didn't we talk about that last time? I think
so. Yeah.
I think we did. Yeah. And
my animation.
one of the things that Lynn does is these single div kind of setups and drawing things basically with CSS backgrounds. But like wielding these layers gets so complex because you're managing a bunch of different properties like background size, background position, and background image, and all these things. So one of the things I did while I was watching that is I was just experimenting with using CSS variables to kind of help manage layers, if you will. And that's kind of what's happening here with all of these CSS variables. We're trying to make the CSS a little more logical by putting things in a variable and then just using it within the property itself. So that's, we've got the rotation kind of offset to its own thing, image offset as its own thing, and then the slide offset as its own thing. And then we can just pull those in and use those where we need and override them where we need. For instance, the main slide image, we don't want it to be rotated, and we don't want any offset of it. So that's how we end up with that.
Well, I'm happy with my growing, shrinking animation.
Yeah, I agree. Really good.
I do wish that clip path was hardware accelerated. I feel like it is for Android and iOS, but for the web, for some reason, it's not.
Yeah. Let's do 7 and 3, something like that. I'm a little snappier. Yeah, that feels nice. And that's kind of cool. Changing the ease between the clip path animation and the transform animation gives a really nice effect. Path duration. Okay. Great. All right. I mean, there's plenty more we can implement on this, but I think we should just try to put together what we've done so far and summarize a little bit.
For sure.
Just so that for the sake of time and complexity. But yeah, I think this is a really cool effect. And there's so much. Yeah, there's just so much that's fun about it. So anyway, yeah, we've got a lot happening. How would you summarize this? What would you focus on? Because we need to cover the kind of slide change and offset. And with CSS variables, we need to cover your clip
prop and lock technique
setup, prop and lock, / clip path setup. Okay, and I mean that's basically it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say so.
All right. Well, yeah, let's try and summarize those. So if you're watching live, great, stay with us. We're gonna do some summaries of these techniques to cut down into some smaller videos that you can go back to and enjoy, and it'll help you understand. So yeah, stick with us. We're gonna cut away for just a moment, and then we'll be back doing that. So here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Hola, and amigos, and welcome to Keyframers. I'm Stephen Shaw.
And I'm David Khourshid.
Let's take a quick look at some techniques we used for this collection slider. This is a really great animation by Tom Anderson. You can find the link to that below. We're recreating mainly this kind of image transition effect and trying to get that kind of set up. So here's where we're at. There's a lot of the littler pieces that we didn't implement, and that's fine. We mainly wanted to focus on the images there. So our JavaScript is not too involved. We're basically watching these previous and next buttons, and whenever they're clicked, we call this set current slide button to kind of change the index of the current slide. The current slide is set to have a data current attribute, and it gets a data offset CSS variable that we're going to use. And yeah, we're using a lot of CSS variables, but we're doing this to kind of group the different concerns. You've probably heard the phrase separation of concerns. That's essentially what's happening here. So our slide images, these are all actual image elements. If you look in the code, and there's one that's a main. That's this kind of central image here. So for the slide image, we've got our transition on it so that everything moves nice and smoothly. And then we're setting up different delays based on some CSS variables. But the main thing is this rotation, image offset, and then a slide offset. So the slide offset is determined by this slide's index relative to the current slide. So the current slide is a 0. So that's what this offset is. So it's right in the center of the viewport. Everything else is off to the right or left based on that index. The image offset is something that we're doing. So the very first slide image is offset to the left and rotated 25 degrees. And that's used in the transform here. The main one has no rotation and no offset, but image offset, but it does have the slide offset that's still being used. And then the one after the main slide image has a rotation to the right of 25 degrees and the translate X 50% so that it's kind of off and to the side a little. And we're also using these delay variables to give that kind of staggering effect. We could have gone more in depth with that, but basically the first slide is not delayed, and the main slide is delayed by 1, and we do some unit calculation later, and a delay of 2 for the last one. So that's what helps those stagger through. And then this delay offset is so that the main slide can the current slide can come in after the other slide is transitioned. So down here in slide current, we've got a delay offset of 3. And then that's set up here in the transition delay, which gets nice and fun, where we're multiplying the delay, or adding the delay and the delay offset and multiplying it by 0.1 seconds. So that's how we get the staggering and the overall setup of using these CSS variables to separate the concerns and make things a little more manageable. There's definitely some room for cleanup here, but yeah, overall, that's a great way for you to kind of organize your code, and do it in a dynamic way so that you can override properties with specific classes or whatever. Yeah. Anything to add there?
Nope.
Yeah.
Quite a lot.
Yeah. And go back and watch the full thing. I kind of go into it a bit more as we're building them out. So yeah, you can check out that full process of creating the animation. And yeah, we'll edit that ending in after we finish the next one.
Do it in post.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, whenever you're ready, go into prop and lock.
All right, let's talk about the prop and lock technique. So I'm over here in the CSS and dot slider, and just a quick review on how CSS variables work. Let's say that I want to change the background of this slider to, blue. Of course, we could do that. You see it turns blue, or I could say var color, and let's say I add a color here and make it blue. It's going to be blue. All very standard stuff. This is how CSS variables work. CSS variables also have a second argument for the default value. So if color is not defined, and this is going to be the important part, if it's not defined, make it red. So if I comment this out, since color is not defined, now it's going to be this big blaring red. I was actually not expecting it to be that bright. That sort of just burned my eyeballs. So anyway, so that's how that works. But the idea is that we could use CSS variables as sort of a Boolean value, an indicator or a flag, if you will. So I could say instead of blue, I could add a comment. And now it's going to basically say, if color is not defined, then make it red. Otherwise, don't do anything. So this is the same as saying background comment. And so this comment is going to be, let's actually make this a comment. This comment is going to basically make that entire rule set invalid. So CSS is just going to ignore it. Remember, CSS gracefully ignores invalid syntax. So we're using this as a placeholder to be like, hey, I do exist. Don't take that second value. So you might wonder what we're doing here. And we're sort of doing the same sort of technique. So if I delete this, we're saying that this slide state variable, it should exist when the data state is full. Now, I know it gets a little bit confusing, but it'll make sense more above. So just remember that when our data state is full, that is when we click the slide and we have the full image, then our slide state variable exists. Same thing over here. If we're in the slides one, then the full state variable exists. So now let's scroll up just a little bit and see that in action over here in slide image.main. When we have slides data current.
So real quick, whenever you click a slide, we're toggling that data state on the main container, so that's where that initial value is coming from, and then in the CSS we're setting those variables based on that data attribute.
Right. And the benefit to that, I'll talk about that in a minute, but so over here in the transform, we have scale, and you could read this like this. When in the full state, the scale should be 4. When in the slide state, the scale should be 1. And you'll see that that just works. And the reason it works is because this is essentially the same thing as saying transform scale. Let's say that we are in the full state. Remember, when we're in the full state, the slide state variable will be defined. So this is going to be the same as scale 4 with a random comment over there. And so if the other way was true, then it would be scale comment 1. And I know that looks weird, but you could think of the CSS variables as basically, snuffing out those, those defined values. So it's basically replacing them with comments. And so that's how you could toggle between states over here. Now, think about the previous episodes where we sort of did the same or a similar technique where we wanted to show certain styles based on what state we were in. In order to do that, we would have to have these crazy long selectors where, we had like the .app data states equals blah, 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 and then all the way down to there. And that's sort of a fragile approach. By using CSS variables, all we have to do is, have those defined somewhere. It doesn't matter where. You could think of these variables as global variables. And even if we change our structure, change our class names, change our selectors, it doesn't matter, because if the variables stay the same, then we're still going to get those, stateful style values. And so that is the prop and lock technique.
Yes, there's some articles written on it that we'll have linked below that you should check out if you're interested in that technique. But yeah, it's just kind of a way of toggling between a specific state, basically defined with a comment or going to this default value. So yeah, it gets complex the more that you add to it. But for kind of binary states or toggling between two states, it's pretty manageable.
Yeah.
I guess we can do a separate one on this clip path.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and just do a quick little thing on that.
Okay.
All right, so we're using the aforementioned prop and lock technique. By the way, it's called prop and lock because we're using custom properties, and it's sort of like channel locks. So if you think of a canal, you have to lift up gates and lower certain gates in order to make sure that, a boat could go from stage to stage. And that's essentially how the variables are acting. Plus, it's sort of a play on words, because pop and lock is a dance move. So prop and lock. Anyway, we're using the prop and lock technique to toggle between two clip paths. So when we're in the full state, our skinny but tall image is going to be full width because we're scaling that to 4. And this is not a mathematically accurate scale, by the way. I just made it a big number so that it covers the entire screen. You might want to do some math in real life and probably in JavaScript to make sure that it is actually the correct scale, or maybe use a flip technique.
Yeah, and in a real setup for this, you would definitely want to use some flip variables to kind of calculate this growth here.
Yeah, so this polygon is basically saying we're going to cut off the top quarter of the image, and we're also going to cut off the bottom quarter of the image. And in the slide states, when the image is smaller and it has its little image friends next to it and rotated, we are going to basically show the full image. So we're not going to cut off anything. We're just going to go from 0, 0, 100, 0, 100, 100, 0, 100, which corresponds to the top left, top right, bottom left corners, respectively.
And we do need a polygon there so that it actually transitions. Otherwise, it just kind of snaps back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
But by adding that polygon in there, the browser is able to transition between 0% and 25%, 25%, 0%, all that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Wow. So yeah, that's a cool way to kind of change this aspect ratio and match our inspiration animation a little bit more closely. So yeah, very cool approach.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. Flip would definitely be our recommendation, but for a quick turnaround, enlarging aspect ratio change effect, clip path's a great way to do that.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Let's do the outro there. I'll splice all that in. You start.
I start. All right. You can watch the full process of creating this animation for a deeper dive into each technique on the full live stream links below. Leave us a comment if you have any questions.
Our show is supported by our sponsors, CodePen at CodePen.io, CSS Tricks at CSS-Tricks.com. Hey, nice shirt. And viewers like you. You can pledge at Patreon.com/keyframers and subscribe to our channel for more great content. And we've got plenty of links available below. So thank you so much for watching. Until next time, adios, amigos.
Adios.